Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhare Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachare Yamunatiravanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhare Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachare Yamunatiravanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishwat Paramahansa Parivrajakacharyas Tadasashismadis Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Go Premanande. All glories to the Sama devotees, all glories to the Sama devotees, all glories to the Sama devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Oops. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 23, Devahuti's Lamentation, Text 32. Srinyor Adyastaya Kanchya Kanchanya Baho Ratnaya Harena Cha Maharhena Ruchakena Cha Bhushitam Srinyoradyastaya Kanchya Kanchanya Bahuratnaya. Oh, I see. All right then. So, let me just drink to that. Verse 34 then. Okay, just a sec. Here we are. All right. Yada sasmara rishabham Rishinam dayatam patim Tatra chaste sahastribhir Yatraste sa prajapati Yadasasmara rishabham Rishinam dayatam patim Tatra chaste sahastribhir Yatraste sa prajapati Yadasasmara rishabham Rishinam dayatam patim Tatra chaste sahastribhir Yatraste sa prajapati Mataji's. Krishna Caitanya. It's not stable. Rishinam dayatam patim Tatra chaste sahastribhir Yatraste sa prajapati Rishabham Rishinam dayatam patim Sahastribhir Yatraste sa prajapati Yada when Sasmara she thought of Rishabham the foremost Rishinam among the rishis Dayatam dear Patim husband Tatra there Cha and Aste she was present Saha along with Stribhi the maidservants Yatra where Aste was present Sa he Prajapati the Prajapati Kardama. Translation: when she thought of her great husband, the best of the sages, Kardama Muni, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maidservants, at once appeared where he was. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears from this verse that in the beginning, Devahuti thought herself to be dirty and dressed in a very niggardly way. When her husband asked her to enter the lake, she saw the maidservants, and they took care of her. Everything was done within the water, and as soon as she thought of her beloved husband Kardama, she was brought before him without delay. These are some of the powers attained by perfect yogis. They can immediately execute anything they desire. Let me just read the other couple of verses, including 32, which I had sort of figured out a few things to say. But now this is quite different. Anyway, so 32. Shrinyo adyastaya kancha, kanchanya bahuratnaya, harena cha marharhena, rujakena cha bushitam. About her hips she wore a girdle of gold, set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances. Purport. Auspicious substances include saffron, kumkum, and sandalwood pulp. Before taking a bath, there are other auspicious substances, such as turmeric mixed with mustard seed oil, which is smeared all over the body. All kinds of auspicious substances were used to bathe Devahuti from top to toe. Sudata subruva shlakshna snigdha pangena chakshasha padmakosha sprida nilayar alakais chalasan mukam. Her countenance shone with beautiful teeth and charming eyebrows. Her eyes, distinguished by lovely, moist corners, defeated the beauty of lotus buds. Her face was surrounded by dark, curling tresses. Purport. According to Vedic culture, white teeth are very much appreciated. Devahuti's white teeth increased the beauty of her face and made it look like a lotus flower. When a face looks very attractive, the eyes are generally compared to lotus petals and the face to a lotus flower. So that was 32 and 33, and again I'll read 34. Yadasa smara rishabam rishinam dayatam patim tatrachaste sahastripir yatraste sa prajapati. When she thought of her great husband, the best of the sages, Kardama Muni, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maidservants, at once appeared where he was. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastya Chadeshatarane Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakapachurubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha Paditanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Yes, well, we did read through verse 32 actually before, and did even a little research into the subject of auspicious and inauspicious, which was the main, other than just the sort of the theme of looking nice, beautiful, and nicely decorated and all. That struck me as being, from the philosophical or just in a direct Krishna conscious sense, the most important thing. So actually we will say a few words about that, but now we've read these other verses. White teeth are very much appreciated. Not only in Vedic culture, sort of what, black or brown teeth or whatever, multicolored, are not appreciated. We were in what is now Namibia back in 1984 or something. 1984. And there are people who, I forget which sort of ethnic group they're from, but one of the groups there, there's a practice amongst, I think it's more the men, to file their teeth, or some of their teeth, to points, like directly down to a point. And we are trying to, anyway, it's just, you go different places, people have different habits and practices and traditions and so on. But that appeared to be there in that part of the world. And we didn't really think much of it. It was just, it's just their thing. Some group amongst all the people there. But somehow or other we ended up asking some local person, what is it all about? And according to that person, and who knows, but at least that person said that, it means they're cannibals. Yes. Oh, Krishna. And then not long after that, well, actually a few years after that, I was in Holland or Belgium, I think Holland actually, and you know how on buses they have advertisements for whatever, all sorts of things. So this one bus went past with an advertisement for some child's charitable organization. It might have been Save the Children or that sort of thing. And so on the side, right along the side of the bus, were all these photographs of these happy, smiling little children of different varieties, different nationalities and so on. And one of them was a child with big smile. And from that group, and his teeth filed to points. Not all the teeth, it's more like the canines or, that's sort of just a little on the side there. And I thought, yes, save the cannibals. Well, what can you say? But white teeth are very much appreciated, of course. And, all these nice descriptions of looking nice, and it's all very nice. And of course we should try to look nice. We don't want to look like, too kind of bohemian, or cultureless or accultural or something like that. So, but particularly I had looked at this verse 32 in which Prabhupada in the purport focuses on auspicious things which were used in the bathing actually. Of course, gold is also auspicious. So auspicious and inauspicious is a very interesting, and it can become a very complex subject in Vedic culture, in our literatures, where auspicious and inauspicious, the main place, as I recall, where it's discussed is chapter 14 of the first canto, which is the chapter entitled The Disappearance of Lord Krishna, and it doesn't actually discuss the disappearance as such. That's at the end of the 11th canto, but it does describe the reaction, not just the reaction, but what happened in Hastinapur, what Maharaj Yudhisthira observed happening in terms of different happenings. Some in the sky, and some just amongst people, and some amongst animals, and some weather phenomena, and different things like that, which were very inauspicious. Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Yeah, that's very auspicious. Just at the right time. Hare Krishna, thank you. And it brought to mind, I was looking through the chapter, and in fact we'll just note a couple of things from there. Auspicious it was mainly inauspicious. And then Arjuna returned from Dwaraka. He had been there when the Lord actually disappeared. And then he explained that. But what I saw, I had heard, actually. In fact, I had been told by His Holiness Subhag Swami, who, he's pretty knowledgeable devotee. He's brought up in India and in a cultured family. And so he had told me, but then I read, just a matter of, it might be between 1 and 2 weeks ago, Srila Prabhupada said, someone offered Prabhupada something, or some things, a few of a particular item, I can't remember what it was. But Prabhupada said, do not offer 3. Which is what Subhag Maharaj told me. Do not offer 3. He said, you offer 3 to enemies. I read it there. And wow, I was trying to look it up to actually read it rather than just talk about it right now, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, that's interesting. You offer 3 to enemies. Hare Krishna. So, think about it. Auspicious and inauspicious. And Subhag Maharaj told me, this is some years ago, and it was in Mayapur, and he told me how he and 2 other devotees went on doing collecting funds to some business person's house. And so it's 3 of them, and they were not, I don't know if he already knew about it or didn't know about it, but the others were foreigners, they didn't know about such things. They knocked on the door. The man opened the door of the house and saw 3, and he didn't say a word, he just closed the door. Yeah, and they got a bit shocked. So anyway, they came back some days later. Well, they found out about it. And 2 of them came back later, some days later, and knocked on the door. And he opened the door, and he didn't say anything like, oh, okay, now there's just 2 of you. He didn't say anything. He just said, come in. And they came in and they collected some donations. And there was no discussion about what had happened. Yeah. It was like the man had taken it to be understood. So, okay, auspicious and inauspicious. You know, there are many considerations of auspicious and inauspicious in the sense of omens. And of course, we don't want to get too much into this sort of thing, but in Hinduism, auspicious and inauspicious, at least amongst some people, is extremely important. The auspicious day, the auspicious time of the day. Like, for many people, doing Govardhan Parikrama is very important. If you go there on an Ekadasi, or particularly on a Purnima, but there's loads of people, but particularly on, Kartik, one of the Kartik Purnimas, and most especially on the Purushottam Purnima, there's so many people. It's just hundreds of thousands. It may be millions going around. It's really a lot. But other days, like the day after Kartik Purnima, or 2 days after Kartik Purnima, in the Caitanya month, you can sit there for 5 minutes and you won't see a person go by. Yeah. And it's not just because it was Saturday or Sunday and people are free, although that also is sometimes a consideration, but it's auspicious and inauspicious. And to do it during the Purnima, because the Purnima doesn't just mean, from 1 minute past midnight till the next midnight. It's like from whatever time the moon rises to the time the moon sets. And we actually have in Vrindavan, we have a house, and we have one Bengali devotee who's been with us for 20 years or so, and he only goes at the time. He doesn't just go on Purnima. If the Purnima officially starts like 7 o'clock, he'll be there 7 o'clock. So these considerations in the minds of many people are of paramount importance, extreme importance. And so they observe different functions in those terms. And then this morning I was reading, Srila Prabhupada was saying that, yes, on the material level, there's auspicious and inauspicious, but from the Krishna conscious point of view, everything material is inauspicious. Everything material is inauspicious. And the only thing which is auspicious is Krishna consciousness. And of course, within the context of Krishna consciousness, some things are auspicious and some things are inauspicious. Like cleanliness is auspicious. Uncleanliness is inauspicious. And it's not just a matter, sometimes people take auspicious and inauspicious to be more like superstition. The black cat walks across the road in front of you. I was in a car once in Russia where people at least quite a lot of people, are very superstitious. Whoa. The old sort of mystical culture is very prominent. And so we were driving through this village, and a black cat ran across in front of us. The driver stopped. None of us said anything. He just stopped, turned the car around 360 degrees, and carried on. Really, it's a fact. And then, would you believe, a second black cat ran across the road, and he did the same thing. And then a third black cat ran across the road, and he did the same thing. Didn't say a word, and just carried on. And not long after, like 6 months, several months, it might have been a year, a disaster happened in that village. Sure. Wow. So a lot of people think it's just superstition. But, you can understand in very simple, practical terms. Dirty, clean. You can understand. It's not hard to understand at all. I mean, at least for devotees, clean is auspicious in actual objective terms. As a practical reality, you become fresh when you get up in the morning. Of course, you're refreshed, hopefully, from whatever you did the day before. Now you feel refreshed, but still, it's a fact. The body is quite unclean, and there's quite a bit of ignorance hanging around. But then you take a nice bath, and if you do take a nice bath and put on clean clothes, then you could say you can feel the auspiciousness. It's just, everything is much more noticeably nice. So it's not a superstition. It's a practical, objective reality. Whereas so many people, when they get up, they don't take a bath. I think in, just non-devotee society, is it a practice to take a bath? Maybe amongst Indian people, but I don't think amongst the Vitos. And I don't know about in African culture if it's really. Okay, anyway, let's not get into that too much. But, like having by force of circumstances, or maybe my desire, I don't know, had to frequent numerous airports around the world. I can tell you where to go. Where's the good place where you can find a quiet spot, or in many airports. I observed, having had to use the public toilets on numerous occasions, I observed, and I was actually sort of looking for it after a while. What are these people going to do now, having used the toilet? And some of them wash their hands nicely. Many of them don't. They just walk out the door. And it's a little inconceivable, actually, that are they not aware? Do they not feel the difference? And what to speak of the implications, contaminated hands, and then you're going to be handling all sorts of different things. What if you just go and handle some food? Haribol. It's just not nice. It's inauspicious, and it's not a superstition. It's a practical reality. I was reading in chapter 14, that chapter of the first canto, how Maharaj Yudhisthira in Hastinapur suddenly was observing. It just happened one day or one night or one time. Suddenly, all these things started happening. And he noticed, for example, that suddenly interpersonal interactions suddenly became worse. Yeah. Because the Lord had disappeared, and when the Lord disappears, at that moment, Kali Yuga begins. And of course it gets worse and worse as time goes on, but immediately, at least according, it seems, to Maharaj Yudhisthira's description, it was like immediately social interactions started changing for the worse. To his surprise, it was like, what happened here? And all sorts of extraordinary things. If you don't mind, let me just have a look there, and we can remind you all a bit, because it really is quite something. Yeah, just bear with me for a few seconds. Okay. Well, in terms of the interpersonal reactions, Maharaj Yudhisthira noticed, he saw that the direction of time, of eternal time, had changed. And this was very fearful. There were disruptions in the seasonal regularities. I mean, it's over a period of a few months. A few months passed, Arjuna didn't return. Maharaj Yudhisthira then began to observe some inauspicious omens. So it was over not a lot of time, because Arjuna left and he went all the way to Dwaraka. It takes a while in those days. And then, so after however long, he noticed a change, or changes, that the changes of seasonal regulations. Yeah. I even remember here, I think I remember, when I first came, there was a rainy season. It was the summer, and the winter was a dry season. It's not quite like that now. In India it's also, it's something like that, but it's not like that. It gets all mixed up. It's Kali Yuga. So he noticed, just over a period of a short time, at the most a few months, he noticed the people in general had become very greedy, angry, and deceitful. He saw they were adopting foul means of livelihood. All this inauspiciousness was just starting to saturate the atmosphere. And all ordinary transactions and dealings became polluted with cheating. Yeah. Even between friends. And in familial affairs there was always understanding between fathers, mothers, and sons, between well-wishers and brothers, even between husband and wife. There was always strain and quarrel. Sometimes that's one thing, but always that's another thing. So he noticed all this, and he spoke to Bhima, and he says, well, actually 7 months since he departed, 7 months have passed, yet he hasn't returned. And he starts to sort of speculate, has maybe Krishna disappeared? And then he points out certain other things. The left side of my body, my thighs, arms, and ears are all quivering again and again. For men, this is inauspicious. For women, it is auspicious. There's talk in Prabhupada's books, sometimes Radharani's body, the left side quivers, and she feels it to be auspicious. But amongst men, the left side is inauspicious. The dog barks at me fearlessly. He should have gone on, when the devotees used to go door to door in Chatsworth, they used to call it dog to dog Sankirtan. Because so many houses had dogs, and they would all bark. It's all Kali Yuga. Now, useful animals like cows are passing me on the left side. And lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. These are all inauspicious omens. Anyway, like this, various things he talks about. I've even had experience in Vrindavan particularly, just not on many occasions, but on some. Of some people, we're walking in the street, there's no one around, few people around, and some sadhu is coming the other way, and he sees me or us, our little group, whatever, coming towards him, and then he either, in some cases, they make a point of passing us with their left side to us because they regard us as inauspicious, angres, foreigners, the dirty foreigners. But in other cases I've seen, they make a point of passing on with the right side to us. It means they take us to be auspicious. Auspicious and inauspicious. We could do a little seminar on omens and, what to watch out for. It is a fact that Srila Prabhupada, to some degree, observed auspicious and inauspicious. It's actually a fact that he, his servants would say, Prabhupada did not like to travel on Ekadasi. Prabhupada did not like to travel on Thursdays. Even either Hari Suri, I think must have been Hari Suri, told me that Prabhupada, if it seemed he was he had to travel on a Thursday, sometimes he would get the servants to pack the bags on Wednesday, and Wednesday night put the bags outside the door. It means you're already in transit. You've already left, although your body is still in the room. It's an auspicious consideration. When Prabhupada was in his disappearance pastimes, he, at least one time, he asked for an astrological reading from some astrologer who he knew and who he regarded as being fairly authoritative and bona fide. So, yeah. And he got, at least one time, just in the last couple of weeks when he was bedridden in Vrindavan, at least one time he had a reading taken, and with recommendations, do this, don't do that, in terms of, the stars and the heavenly whatever up there. So he would observe it for a while, and then stop observing it. So, it was there to some degree, but it wasn't really, these weren't serious considerations. Even Prabhupada, some doctor, he asked for some super doctor, Ayurvedic doctor from the Gopinath Bazaar, to come and do some Ayurvedic things. And the doctor gave some dietary recommendations. Eat this, don't eat that, as they do. And the devotees were following that for a couple of days. And then one day, and Prabhupada is physically incapacitated quite severely. And one day, they brought, it's all this like super health stuff, boiled, steamed, or uncooked or whatever, no oil, no hoil, and, all this. And because they're very sincerely concerned to try to help Srila Prabhupada in terms of his health. And Prabhupada had asked for this person to come. And so they felt, yes, Prabhupada must be behind this. Then after just a couple of days, Prabhupada asked for, I can't even remember exactly, you know the story? He asked for something like samosa or kachori, something fried. And the devotee, I think the devotee who was presenting the prasadam at lunchtime to Prabhupada, she sort of protested that, Srila Prabhupada, the doctor said and all this. And Prabhupada said something to the effect that if we cannot eat nicely, why should we live? Yeah, okay. So really, auspicious means Krishna conscious. But in Krishna consciousness, of course, there are natural standards like cleanliness we mentioned. There are natural dietary standards. Prabhupada would allow a feast on Sundays and festival days, but otherwise the devotees should eat simple, Vedic, but simple. Yeah, not every day a feast. Prabhupada said that you should feed Krishna like he's a young boy. He can eat anything, rich things, but not for the general devotees. It'll be detrimental. So it's auspicious and inauspicious, but in very practical terms. Yeah. So here there are all these different things, what to use certain oils, mustard seed oil before you take, or turmeric mixed with mustard oil. Have it smeared all over your body before you take a bath, because it's auspicious. I don't know, I've never used these things, but it's not just auspicious, it's good for the health. And that is auspicious, to have good health, so you can engage in in Krishna consciousness. I read Sanatana Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas. He says, when you are chanting japa on your beads, then you must, when you go from one bead to the next, you must pull the beads towards you, not push them away from you. How's that? You understand what I mean? Yeah. Because it's inauspicious to push them away from you. This is Sanatana Goswami. One devotee asked Prabhupada, why? We are told we must not pick tulsi on Dwadasi. Why? Well, no, not. In Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is written by Sanatana Goswami, there's an instruction, we must not pick tulsi on Dwadasi. Why? And Prabhupada answered, because Sanatana Goswami said so. A straight answer. Yes. There's probably some subtle considerations there. There must be, I don't know, but one would assume there must be. Sanatana Goswami, he's an expert on auspicious and inauspicious. So at least in our devotional service, it's very auspicious, it's totally auspicious to get up early in the morning, take a nice bath, put on clean clothes, come to Mangal Arati, Haribol. Come to Mangal Arati and stay for the morning program as much as possible, in terms of your duties and any other important considerations. That's auspicious. And you'll feel the auspiciousness. And to chant Hare Krishna attentively, that's auspicious. And you feel the difference compared to if you don't chant attentively, if your mind just wanders off into whatever place, other place, as it is prone to do, then you can feel the inauspiciousness. You can feel it. Because at least in Krishna consciousness, these points which are emphasized, do this but don't do that, because they are objectively beneficial or not beneficial, actually. It's not just some superstition. Yeah, not just some superstition. Like one lady came here to the temple many years ago. I don't know if you were here. I won't mention the name. Early, it was about maybe 8:30 in the morning. She came zipping in her car from a very staunch and very nice devotee family with a big watermelon. And she said, I had a dream. Krishna told me I must offer him a watermelon before 9 o'clock. Otherwise, I must divorce my husband. Haribol. Were you around? I'm serious. I'm not joking with you. So we said, well, okay, it's nice to offer a watermelon. That's a really good idea. Krishna will be very happy. So we can offer the watermelon. Maybe it was, I'm not sure at what time, but yeah, we can offer the watermelon. But look, this whole thing, possibly divorce your husband, we don't think it's really valid because he is a twice initiated, very responsible and nice devotee, like a really nice devotee. And problems between husband and wife, they happen sometimes, but divorce, to go to that point, let's not go that far, because it's not authoritative. It's superstition. It was actually superstition. So yeah, we in our practice of Krishna consciousness, we should try and understand very clearly what in Krishna consciousness is auspicious and inauspicious, because they're very real considerations. Like we mentioned, getting up for the morning program as one example, and there's so many others. Reading Prabhupada's books. This is auspicious, transcendentally, and so many other things. Preaching Krishna consciousness. And we should try and figure out, organize our lives, our programs in such ways that we maximize the auspicious, really positive Krishna conscious activity, and we avoid the inauspicious, like offenses, for example. So that's something we can take from here. Otherwise, white teeth are very much appreciated. I have some tooth whitener, actually. But I think my teeth are sort of beyond it now. But it's a good idea, have white teeth. And to be clean. And I don't know, maybe use some oil before you bathe. Frankly, I've never done it, not one time in my life. But maybe, Maharaj was talking about it yesterday. Maybe it'll help. Yeah. In this way, we can make our lives fully auspicious and prepare for going back to Godhead, which is the ultimate auspiciousness. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj, comment. Yes.
In India, marriages, they take place on the auspicious muhurta.
Okay.
Very particular on that one. And if you get married, anyone getting married in Balaji temple, Tirupati, there no muhurta required. They written Mangala Bhavana Amangala Hari. Where Lord is there, it is auspicious.
I see.
All inauspicious is destroyed.
Achha.
So their marriages take place according to your choice. Whatever the time, day is suitable for you, go and book that time for the pujari to come and do it. So anything in relation to Krishna consciousness always auspicious.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Sri Damodar Prabhu. Oh, okay, whatever.
We hear sometimes in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about renouncing both auspicious and inauspicious activities, and that person is dear to him, becomes dear to him. What does that really refer to?
Okay. Here's the question. That in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna does talk about renouncing auspicious and inauspicious things, and then you become dear to him. That's the 12th chapter. Yeah, the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, second half. Yeah, so what he's talking about is all these, like karma they're actually karma kandya, auspicious and inauspicious considerations. Yeah, which may to some degree overlap into Krishna consciousness, at least in the minds of some devotees. I mean, yeah. I was going to say who've been brought up in that way, but maybe not just them. Some of our devotees have adopted from other cultures, have adopted elements of the culture outside of, like sort of the strict boundaries of Krishna consciousness. But it's like, there's so many different rituals, auspicious rituals in Karma Kandya. When I was a young devotee, I was told, it's another one of these, Prabhupada says, and I only heard it at that time, but I can actually understand it in practical terms, that the procedure according to strict Karmakandya standards of auspicious and inauspicious, when you get up early in the morning, and you must get up, first of all, you should have slept facing a certain direction. Then you must get up, and there's a whole procedure for getting up. And you have to bow down and this way and that in a few ways, and recite certain prayers to a few different personalities. And then you got to, there are mantras for brushing your teeth and ways of doing all the things that get done, in that whole program. And at least I was told, that Srila Prabhupada said, that because it's Kali Yuga and we're a bit on the slow side, or something like that, then, so we were told, the young devotees were told, that if we followed all the rules and regulations of Karmakandya for getting up, by the time we had got up and done everything and now got our clothes on and we're just ready for the day, it would be time to take rest at night. Yeah. So there are all these types of considerations, like, I mentioned doing the Govardhan Parikrama. Many people, they'll only do it on Purnima. You can invite them any other time, but no, got to be Purnima. So it's Purnima, it's not Govardhan Hill. Yeah. It's a consideration of sort of, at best mixed auspiciousness. Because Govardhan, as far as I'm concerned, Govardhan is at its most auspicious when there's no one there. And you can just, take your time and spend some time here and there. Yeah. And when it's like, and some of these people, they literally run. And many of them walk fast. And you get these people, I've done Govardhan Parikrama on busy days. And you get sort of bumped and pushed and looked at, and if you're going slowly. So there are all these considerations. At a certain time you must do this. In a certain place at a certain time you must do that. So it's all these types of considerations. Yeah. There is one that if you, where is it now? Oh, it's on, anyway, you know the one. If you give a set of Srimad Bhagavatam on, it's the Bhadra Purnima, situated on a gold throne, you go back to Godhead. I don't know on the day before or the day after how it works, but our devotees are trying to sort of optimize and maximize that because, at least certain people, anyway, it's a nice thought, but it's actually accepted, I would say. It's definitely stated, it's quoted, Jiva Goswami quotes it on a number of occasions in the Sandarbhas and encourages it. Yeah. But then there are all sorts of other considerations which on the surface of it, they're kind of that nature, auspicious. And this is what Krishna's referring to. Yeah?
Right, then from there, because as we read the literature and learn about Vedic culture, we're going to find so many auspicious things, inauspicious things that are prescribed and not prescribed. So, how should we what mechanism should we use to filter out what's essential, what's not essential, so we don't become carried away or in some cases too averse, like when we hear don't travel on Thursday, because Prabhupada, so we can become averse to it, but that's mundane. So how do we filter out the unnecessary and keep the essence?
Well, okay. So the question is, when we read the literatures and if we sort of explore the culture a bit, then we will just inevitably come across all sorts of auspicious and inauspicious considerations. So what do we do and what do we not do from amongst them? How do we filter? What filtering process should we use? Well, the first is, and definitely the most important, we should try and understand, or we should not just try, but we should find out what Prabhupada said. Yeah, that's really important. And even the Thursday thing, I've heard it from a number of devotees, including actual assistants of Prabhupada, but then Prabhupada did travel on Ekadasis sometimes, and he did travel on Thursdays sometimes. Where possible, he avoided it. Where possible, he avoided it. Yeah. So it's sort of like, what it's like? Until what times should we fast on the different appearance days? Yeah. And, a while ago, there was such a controversy about Ram Navami. Yeah, about Ram Navami. Because Prabhupada said, it's just clear, he said, fast till moonrise. He said it. It's recorded, it's there. But he himself, on some occasions, didn't do it. So our Shastric Advisory Committee, they did a whole paper, 20 pages, just analyzing it, and their conclusion is, it's kind of up to you, but you can do it at midday. Yeah. Particularly if it's practical for preaching, you can do it at midday. Yeah. So that's the first thing we got to do. That's the first thing we got to do. And beyond that, so many devotees will say, we don't need to bother. Just keep Prabhupada's standards. And certainly it's a pretty good idea, because as soon as you start going out into just the Gaudiya Mat, what to speak of the Babajis, what to speak of the people who are not at all following Lord Caitanya, it gets confusing. And we, along with being on the slow side, we're on the easy to become confused side too. So, as much as possible, my advice would be that these things should be researched in terms of what Prabhupada said, and then follow that. What do you think? Got any other suggestion? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Sorry to take so long. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Sure. Are you ready, Caitanya Das?